have missed you all so much. I hope you can hear me okay. Thank you so much for rocking with me. Thank you so much for coming back. Appreciate you all. Very excited about the interview tonight.
Hi. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me okay?
Awesome. Yes.
Can you hear the music?
Yes.
Okay.
Now I can.
Okay. It's on the break, so I want to make sure that you can actually hear it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, love. You are my first guest back.
Yay.
I just took a month off.
Wow. Well, I hope it was for you and to rest and recuperate and
There was no rest.
oh
There was no
no.
rest. There was a lot of work, but it's a
Okay.
good thing. So, what
Yeah.
up? What up, Roth? What up, Don?
Yes. Hey
What
everybody.
up, Poetry Bender? I'm gonna let a couple more people get in, but
Awesome.
I'm so
Me
excited.
too. Thank you so much.
Of course. Are you excited about the new music?
Oh my gosh, yes. I'm so excited. It's just literally a dream come true. So, very, very excited.
You know, I was a little impatient about the song. I was like, I need to hear this song in full before
Yes.
the interview. And then you were like, hey, I have it. So I got super excited.
Good, good, good. Yeah, and I'm glad we were able to figure out how to send it over. So,
Listen, I think whatever you sent it on the first time, it was password protected or something because when I forwarded it to
okay.
my other email address, it was like, no, girl, you don't have
Right.
permission. I was like, okay,
I don't
that's
think
all
so. Yeah.
I had. All right. Well, we have a couple people in here. What up, Goddess Soul?
Hey, what's up,
And
Goldie?
I am, I'm sorry, Goldie Soul. I apologize.
Oh, it's okay.
Yes, I have the beautiful Megan B with me this evening, and I'm so excited. Again, you are my first guest back after my little
Honor.
hiatus.
Yes.
And of course, we have to thank Rothstein for setting this up. So thank you,
Thank
Rothstein.
you.
I
Yes.
appreciate you for connecting us, and it's going to be a great conversation. So, how are you this evening?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited to be here. Thank you for having me as your first guest back. That really that feels good. So thank you. Yeah, thank you, Rothstein. Thank you everybody for tapping in. And I'm excited. I'm excited to
I
talk about
am.
what's coming. So
All right, so let's just start from the very beginning. Don't know if you had a chance to even figure out what it is that I do or how I speak to people, but I like to get into your background. I like to
mhm,
get into what the driving force is and how you got started. So let's talk
yeah,
about, I know that you're a classically trained singer and songwriter. When did that
yes.
training begin?
I started taking voice lessons when I was in sixth grade. So that's when it really started. And then I pursued a degree in music. I went to Christopher Newport University here in Hampton Roads and got my bachelor's in vocal performance. And that's when I studied more like opera style of music.
Oh,
So
wow. I
yeah,
didn't know
so
that.
um, that was just a whole nother avenue of music, and but it really the training helped me immensely, and it's something that I just try and remind myself, you have this, you need to use that because it's like, anything else, if you don't use it, you
You lose
lose
it.
it.
Yep.
But really, music has just kind of been in my life for as long as I can remember. From a very young age, I was just drawn to it, and I kind of used it as my own form of expression and therapy, if you will. So, but yeah, as far as training, I really kind of started taking it seriously in middle school, and
Okay,
then
sixth
it went from there. Yeah.
What age did you know that you were musically inclined?
I would say probably around like six or seven or so, because one of my very first memories of kind of being introduced to music or being around to music and expressing it was in my mom's office, her old office. She had an old piano, and I'm not really sure why they even had that in there, but from a young age, I would go in there and just kind of play by ear different songs.
Wow.
I think it was like Christmas songs because it was probably around the holidays. So I was just kind of figuring out how to play those different melodies. And I think that's when I started to realize that I just really had an ear for music
Right.
and that I enjoyed it. And it was just at that time it was a really good hobby for me. And then I just started writing songs, and I had a little keyboard at home that I still have, and
How
would just write
cute.
songs and
How cute.
and just be in my own little space, wherever we were, and using music to just kind of take me to another place.
So what genres were you originally influenced by? Because you said,
Mhm.
Christmas music, but what did you grow up listening to? What did you gravitate toward?
So I definitely grew up listening to a lot of like Boys to Men, Anita Baker,
Mm. This
and
is
that
in the
was,
house? This is in the
yes,
house?
this is my mom's
Go
influence.
mom. Go
Yes,
mom.
thank you, Lori. But yeah, she had definitely had a good taste in music. But we also had a wide variety too, because I also grew up listening to country music, Faith Hill, Shania Twain, Martina McBride. Those big female
Voices.
country voices. Yeah, I definitely grew up listening to and being inspired by them. And then as I kind of got older, my influences changed even more, and I kind of really got into jazz. And I really just love soul and R&B. And so I'm just kind of the only genre of music that I really say that I don't like, because I love all sorts of music, but I really don't like heavy metal,
Mm.
really like the screamo type music. I really can't get with that. But everything else, I kind of, I try to listen to music for the message or for the meaning behind it. And so, yeah, I try to keep my mind and my palette open in that way.
So
But
those early R&B and maybe country influences, how do
mhm.
they translate into your sound?
Wow, I think because I just in beginning would try to kind of emulate their sound and try
Hmm.
and figure out how to use my voice to do what they were doing. It's definitely influenced just kind of how I write
Hmm.
music, and my melodies and my different riffs and stuff. I feel like are definitely influenced by these different songs and these different artists that I grew up listening to and singing. But that's what I kind of like about this upcoming project and this music, is that I feel like it might be hard for people to put into a genre or put into a specific style, because I'm hoping that you'll hear all the different influences from jazz and from maybe a little bit of country, a little bit of soul, a little bit of R&B, just to kind of make my own style and make my own sound.
I don't think, I haven't heard it, but I don't think it'll be hard because nowadays people are defining their own sounds. So it's
Hmm.
basically up to you how you want to have that portrayed because it's just going to be organically you. So it
Right.
shouldn't be too hard. I mean, if people want to put things in boxes and they want to make
Right.
names for it, but if it's organic, I think it'll be accepted and it'll just be what it is.
Exactly. I agree. Yeah.
Okay, so I did, of course, my research, and you participated in a lot of singing competitions
Hmm.
coming up. Like you traveled up and down the East Coast with your dad.
Yes.
How how do you think that shaped you as an artist?
That whole experience and just that time spent with my dad, all the traveling and stuff, it's hard to put into words. It really has shaped who I am as an artist. It's everything for me. Just because I am starting to really gain a better appreciation of the time and the effort that
Hmm.
he and both my parents, put into my dream and to me really kind of going for this. But it also gave me a really good idea of the industry in a way, or just kind of the attitudes and the all that goes with that, with the audition process and with the competitions, and just kind of all of the emotions and the rejection and the just kind of looking at other people and feeling maybe not as good about yourself, all of that comes with it. I was introduced to that probably, I think, around the same sixth or seventh grade, when I really started to kind of take lessons and we started to go on these road trips to try these
Hmm.
different competitions and things. So it definitely has shaped me in so many different ways, the good and the bad. It kind of taught me that it's definitely hard. It's a hard industry, and it's a tough world to kind of try and get your foot in.
How does
But
I'm sorry.
no, no, no.
How does the competition aspect affect your confidence at a young age? And then basically propel you to continue on as you progress in this career or in this
Hmm.
journey?
Yeah, so I can remember it being pretty hard, pretty difficult to face that rejection and to then, when we first started, it was the kind of marathon, and it was, the first couple times that there we had no's or the doors were closed, that it was, okay, well, let's keep trying. But then after a while, it really got to a point where I just almost gave up in a sense. It was just like, this seems unobtainable to me. This seems just
Mm,
like, we're trying and we're trying and we're trying for all of these years, and maybe it's just not for me. So I think it really did kind of over time, kind of took a shot at my confidence for sure. Just not necessarily thinking I wasn't good enough, but just thinking that, maybe it just wasn't for me, or that there was a different path or a different calling on my life. So,
what was the turning point where you said, okay, no, I'm going to continue? Because if you're being chopped down continuously, or if you're facing rejection at such a young age, what was the turning point where you were like, you know what, this is exactly what I need to be doing. I'm going to continue.
it was definitely, I guess it's been 2 years ago now that a friend of mine saw a newspaper article for this gospel choir that they were holding auditions for in Hampton Roads, and said, you should audition. And I was like, I've never sung gospel before. What am I doing? But I'd said, why not? I did it, and I made it, and I'm in this choir that is Pharrell's Voices of Fire, and I still have to pinch myself every day to just, you know, go through that thought process of, they picked me, they wanted me. And so that really changed my life. It changed the direction of my life. It definitely gave me that confidence to say, okay, this obviously is still in the plan. This is obviously still something that I need to be pursuing, because otherwise, this door wouldn't have opened.
That's actually a perfect segue. You are in, like you said, Pharrell Williams's Voices of Fire. You said you learned about it via a newspaper article from a
Mhm.
friend. So, what
Yes.
was the audition process like? Walk us through that. How
Sure.
long was it? How long was the process? Were there rounds? Like, let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about it. So the first step of the audition was a video audition. And
Hmm.
so I literally sat in my car and filmed myself singing. And then there was a callback process. They had, um, I believe, one round of callbacks, and then they narrowed that down from, like, I think it was 1,000 or 2,000 submissions. They narrowed
Wow.
that down to, I think, between 150, 200, something like that. And then they narrowed that down to around 100 or so. And then it was kind of, if you see it in the show where he's kind of, Patrick, who's the director of the choir, talks about shaking the tree. And so
Mm-hmm.
throughout those rehearsal processes, he was making cuts. So it got down by the premiere concert, it got down to about 80 or so, choir members. But those first few auditions, after the initial tape and then doing the callback, that was extremely nerve wracking. There were tons of cameras around, and just so many good voices. I mean, we know that this area is just filled with talent, and they all showed out. They all came out and definitely sang. So, but yeah, once we kind of got through the callback process, then it was just rehearsing for the premiere concert, but also not really realizing that we were also still going through the audition process and still kind of figuring out, or just trying to prove our spot within the choir throughout that rehearsal process.
So you said it's been 2 years.
Yeah, I actually still have the voicemail from when I got the call for the callback, and it was July 2019.
Wow. So you're
So
coming up on your anniversary.
yeah, and it's been a wild
Oh,
ride, and of course, the pandemic definitely slowed things down, but things are starting to pick back up a little bit, and yeah, I'm just very, very grateful, very excited too.
you mentioned, understanding that you were picked. How do you deal with imposter syndrome? Because this is huge. This is something that
Hmm.
you weren't expecting. This is not something that you sought out. So how
Yeah.
do you continuously deal with the imposter syndrome? Because of course, this is something you worked hard for and you
Hmm.
earned it, but like you're kind of incredulous. You said it. I saw it in your face when you said
Yeah.
it. You're incredulous. So how are you dealing with the imposter syndrome of
Mhm.
understanding that this is something you worked hard for, you deserve to be here, but still it's just kind of like, oh my gosh, what's
I
life?
know. Yeah, it's difficult to be completely honest. It's almost a daily kind of thought process of, like I said, is this real? Is this real life? The fact that I'm in this and was chosen for this. But I think because, like you said, I have been working at this for so long, and from such a young age that I just feel like it would be crazy of me to kind of to give up or to not really give this my all. And so in everything that I do with the choir, with my music, I always just try to be completely genuine and have an intention behind it, and making sure that I'm doing this for the right reasons. I'm doing this to share my music, but also to try and inspire other people or to help people feel something from my music or from what the choir is doing. With our songs or when we worship on Sundays. And so that's kind of a long-winded answer, but
That's
yeah,
fine.
I think just this has been a dream of mine. This has just been always something that's been with me and something that, like I said, I think if it wasn't for me, then I think maybe things would have turned out differently. But um, having that experience and realizing that I am worth it, and I have the talent. And but it is a struggle. It's definitely a struggle to, especially after all the rejection and all the closed doors, that when one opens, um, it definitely, you have to remind yourself. I do, at least.
You also mentioned, wanting to share your voice, and you come across as very genuine. I've listened
Thank
to your
you.
music. As a white woman in this space with the influences of R&B and
Hmm.
jazz and not necessarily opera, but do you
Hmm.
find yourself in a position where you're constantly having to prove your authenticity or your level, being genuine in what it is that
Yeah.
you're delivering in your voice and what you're feeling because it's not quote unquote your space?
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I have I haven't really felt that just yet, but
Hmm.
I'm kind of, once this music is really out, and I'm sure that there might be kind of kickback, or there might be
Hmm.
people who might have questions about the authenticity or the genuineness of my voice. But all I can kind of say to that is, that I grew up listening to so many different styles and genres of music.
Hmm.
And I was trained how to use my instrument. And so in all that I do and all that I sing, it really just comes from a deeper place. It's never trying to affect my voice or trying to sound like um, someone that I'm not. It always is just, if I'm not singing and I'm not feeling something and I'm not moved by it or I'm not connecting to it, then for me, there's no, that I shouldn't be doing it. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it has to be something that you feel and something that is just genuine for you. Because otherwise it's inauthentic, and people can tell. I think people can definitely
They
tell when you're
can.
not being genuine, or when you're trying to be somebody that you're not.
This was so the Voices of Fire. I was also told that you tried out for The Voice.
Yes, I
How was that process? Because that just seems like it could be completely nerve-wracking
Oh my
and
gosh. Yeah. And so I auditioned for The Voice, like 5 or 6 times. This is crazy.
really,
Yes. And the first time that I did was actually, it was like their first season. So when I tell you that my dad could find these things, and so he was able to find this voice audition before it had aired. So it was in this
wow,
smaller scale studio space in New York City. And there were maybe 100 people there. So it was very small. So that was the first year of the audition. And then the second, and then the following, all the years, I mean, it just went from this to it
of course,
exploded.
of
So
course.
it was really interesting to kind of see that difference. But yeah, the once it got kind of larger scale, I mean, it was hours and hours of waiting just to even go in. It was then sitting, once you're in, you're sitting for hours and hours just waiting for them to call you back. And then you go in and you sing like maybe 15, 20 seconds of a song, and then they're like, thank you. Thanks for coming. You know what I mean? But the sixth or the fifth or the sixth time, the last time I went, I actually did get the red ticket. So I got to go to the second round. And I didn't make it past that second round. But from what from what I know, I think there are like 2 or 3 rounds before you go on television,
Okay.
and see like the celebrity judges and things. But it was definitely a crazy experience. All the times I did it, it was like, maybe this is the time, maybe this is the time. And then, the very last time I did it, it was it was a great feeling. It was almost as good as when I got the call back for Voices of Fire, but just kind of getting that confirmation. It was a silly red piece of paper, that
Right.
said you're going to the next round, but that definitely was another confidence booster, I guess, for me.
So each time you tried out for The Voice, did you pick a different song? Did you just rearrange what you had already sung? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what was your strategy going in each time?
So the very first time, we knew nothing about the show. It hadn't been aired or anything,
Right.
and they wanted, I think it was advertised. They want something different,
Mhm.
So I went in and I sang "Think of Me" from Phantom of the Opera, which is an operatic song. I think I was not even 20 years old at the time, so I was very young,
Oh.
and it was not the right song choice. But so from there, I was like, okay, they don't want opera, got it. So then I think I did one of my go-to songs around this time was it's a song called Misery by Pink and Steven Tyler.
Hmm.
And it's a very soulful, kind of bluesy song. And it definitely gives you an opportunity to kind of show off your voice. And
Right.
so I used that song, I think, one year. One year I did, what is it? Led Zeppelin. It was
Hmm.
so it's like I tried to kind of take different angles, and
Right.
do weird stuff or do stuff that maybe wasn't, what they would expect. So, but it's so, you never know because you could be just in the right space with the right producer who just happened to
Right.
really like that song, or, if you'd gone into a room where 20 other people had just sung that song, that's going to play into, whether or not you get through. So I
Right.
kind of just, by the fourth or fifth time, I was really just doing it for the adventure and for the trip, getting up super early and standing in line and just kind of the thrill of that. But
Going through these different audition processes, you've got the competitions that you participated in while you were younger, you've got the Voices of Fire process, you've got The Voice. What what is the ultimate lesson or one important lesson that you've learned throughout those different audition processes?
um, that's a great question. I think for me, it really comes down to not giving up on yourself, which I did, or there were times where I wanted to, or I just,
Hmm.
didn't feel great about it. But I think in all of it, it kind of shows resilience, and it just kind of, for me, is a lesson on no matter what, just to keep going. And that's in general, because life is not going to be easy, and doors are going to be closed, and things are not always going to work out the way that you want them to, but you have to just keep going. And so for me, that's the lesson, that's the takeaway from all of the rejection and all of the no's, is that it only just takes one yes. It just takes
Right.
that one yes, and then everything can change.
Shout out to Aiden. He is over here standing to his
Yes,
aunt.
that's
Shout out to
my
Aiden.
love you, Aiden.
I love my nieces and nephews, so shout out to you,
Yes,
Aiden.
love that boy.
All right. You are with Casino Gang Records, correct?
Yes.
How
Shout out to
did
Rothstein.
Shout out to Rothstein. Shout out to Rothstein.
Mhm.
How did you come about meeting Roth, signing to Casino Gang, and beginning the process of your
project, EP, mixtape, album. I don't know what it's called
Right.
right now.
Yes. All of the above.
All of the above.
So this was last year, and so I had, started with the choir, and I had started to kind of put myself out there a little bit more, um, marketing and networking and things like that. And so Roth and I actually met through another artist that was in the area, and we it was just this instant like energy. We started talking about music, and I was sharing my story, and I had my guitar and I was just playing and singing some of the older songs that I had written on acoustically, and it was just this instant like connection. And I remember when I was telling him about my story, and I was just kind of like, it's been my dream, or it's been a goal of mine to always release an album, or to release some of my own music. And he said, "What are you waiting for?" And for me, that kind of was like, yeah, I definitely want to work with this guy. He has the
Roth
same
is
kind of vision.
Roth is always going to light a fire under your ass and
Yes,
tell you to
yes.
stop playing games.
And
So
he did just that. And so we just started working together. It was weekly. He would send me beats, and I'm working on my craft, because I had really written songs in a long time. And so he really, again, lit a fire. He challenged me to write and to really work on my craft and find my voice and find my style. And, we've been working together for, I guess, a little over a year, and, we're getting ready to release our first single, and it's just,
great segue. Girl, you don't need
yes, it's
media
just
training. Great
crazy.
segue, because I was just about to ask you. So we're working
Yes.
on the new project, but we are dropping this single Ride on 7/31. Let's
Yes.
talk about how Ride came about.
Hmm. So Ride came about with, again, one of his just amazing beats, and it's a very, I don't want to say simple, but there's this piano in it, and it's just these chords.
It is
And
simple. It is
hmm
simple,
hmm
but it's kind of haunting.
yeah, yeah. And so it really, just listening to that kind of put me in this introspective space, and really made me think about this whole bigger picture and this whole
Mhm.
journey. And so the first line of the song is, "It's been a long time coming." And so that for me is kind of how this song came about. What this song is all about for me is just where I came from, how hard I've worked to get here, and where I'm going, and what's kind of next. But it's something that, I wanted it to be the first single, because I think it really represents me, and it represents my journey. And so it's kind of
Mhm.
like, this ride, the ride of life, and kind of where we're about to go. I'm not sure, but I definitely want everyone to come with me. I want, we're all going up, we're all going to win. So that's kind of what it is for me, and I'm so excited. I just can't wait to share it. And I hope people feel something again, when they hear it, and they can relate to it somehow.
Your voice. I don't know if Roth prepared you, but I do my research. So I went back and I looked at your YouTube videos. I've
Hmm.
seen you playing guitar. I've heard the purity in your voice. I then got the chance to listen to Ride, and I noticed that you're toying kind of with autotune.
Hmm.
What was the choice? What was the process of deciding to do that? Because your voice is amazing. Let's just say
Thank
that
you.
flat out. But you chose to not enhance it, but you chose
Hmm.
to complement it with
Hmm.
this tool. So what was the process like in deciding to do that? Because your voice could stand alone, and it will stand alone. I'm sure there are other things where you're not using it, but this
Hmm.
you decided to use it with.
Yeah. And that's kind of been a struggle for me too, because that's new for me. I've kind of always been, well, I hadn't really recorded a whole lot, to be completely honest. So
Hmm.
this was all just new for me, but I'm also very hard on myself. And, so not, I don't want it to be perfect, but as perfect as it can be. But yeah, it's kind of been a struggle for me because Roth will tell you, there were times where I was like, just take the auto tune off, because I wanted to do these like crazy riffs and stuff, or jazzy riffs, and it wasn't
There was
catching
a
in the auto tune.
there was a note that you hit, and I was like, oh, because there was no auto tune. It was just the
Uh-huh.
piano, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Okay. And that's why I can appreciate it because I'm not necessarily a fan of autotune, but
Hmm.
because I know you can actually sing and you were just like, okay, I'll play with this, but
Right.
I'm going to let my voice shine through. I
Right. Yeah.
appreciated that.
Yeah. Thank you. And I
Of
think that's
course.
kind of it's the balance, of and I definitely I trust Roth and I trust my engineer and I want them to just make the song, make my voice just sound genuine, right? I want it to be authentic, but I just want it to sound the best it can be.
She definitely can sing. I've done my
Thank you.
research. I have listened to her and I can't
Thank
wait.
you.
So this project, is it going to be a mixtape? Is it going to be an album? Is it going to be an EP? What are we calling it?
It's going to be an album, and yes,
Okay.
we've got 10 songs on the album, and we're looking to release it at the beginning of next year.
So is it
S
finished or are you still working on it?
We're still working. Yeah, the songs are all recorded. We just have to do the good fun part, the mixing and the
Mixing,
mastering and just
mastering.
perfecting it. I'm using that word a lot. But this is my first project.
Right.
This is my baby, if you will. So I just want it to be great. I want it to represent me, and I want to make sure that I'm happy with it before I release it to the world. So.
Absolutely. Have you, is there a theme on the project or is it just like, because everyone says that you've lived your life for your first project. So your entire
Mhm.
life, is there a theme or is it literally just the ride that you've been on up until this point?
Well, there's definitely a big theme of kind of my story and my
Okay.
journey, but there's also a few songs that show a little bit of different sides of my character and different sides of my personality. So I think from start to finish, it's just a good representation of me,
Okay.
and who I am, and yes, my journey and the ride, but also you'll get to see different sides of me, and kind of get a little glimpse of a little bit more of who I am.
You again are a classically trained singer, but you are also a songwriter. You've mentioned that a couple of times. What is your songwriting process like?
So for me, melodies always come first. They always have. I've honestly struggled with lyrics a little bit, but it's a work form that I've been practicing, and can say that I'm proud of myself for how far I've come with that. But for me, I just kind of sit with the either if it's a beat or if I'm on my guitar or on the keyboard. The first thing is just finding that melody for me and
Mm-hmm.
finding different kind of hooks or whatever is sticking out to me. And a lot of times I'll just use my phone and voice record so that
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes that stuff will come and then it just as quick it goes. So if I don't record it, I might lose it. But so the melodies have always kind of come first, and then sometimes I'm inspired by the name of the beat, or sometimes I'm inspired by something that's happened in my life.
I was going to
Um,
ask if you
mhm.
typically write to a beat or if you can just like riff and then think of something and then come to a studio, hear a beat, and then say, okay, this is perfect for this. I'm
Yeah,
always
so
intrigued by that.
absolutely. So both, because when I started writing, I was using either my keyboard from 1997 or my guitar.
If it ain't
Um,
broke, if it ain't broke.
no,
So,
it still works. So, but then recently being introduced to really working with a beat and kind of using that to help guide and inspire me too. So it's been a really neat process, and it's been cool to watch myself kind of grow throughout the years as a songwriter.
okay. I, at the end of my interviews, typically go through a rapid question or rapid fire question segment in which I just ask you certain things. So I'm
Okay.
going to ask you the question. I need you first thing, top of mind, to just,
Okay.
okay?
Ready. All right.
So, what is the first hip hop song you can remember knowing word for word?
Um, Wall to wall. They keep coming from wall to wall. I don't, that just came to my head.
Well,
So
that's more R&B, but I'll give you that.
okay.
I'll give you
Okay.
that. I'll give you that.
That's
Um,
just the first song that came to my
Gotcha,
head.
gotcha. So song or artist that made you start singing?
Ella Fitzgerald. That's my girl.
What song?
Mr. Paganini is the name of the song.
Can I get a little tiny?
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Paganini, please play my Rhapsody. And if you cannot play it, won't you sing it? And if you can't sing it, you simply have to swing it.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. No, thank
Um,
you.
Favorite old school singer besides?
Ella. I'm gonna have to say Anita Baker. If that's old school enough.
Okay. It is. It is.
Okay, okay.
Okay, so favorite Anita song?
Sweet Love.
And let's go. I need a piece. I need a piece.
With all my heart, I love you, baby. Stay with me, and I will be all you need. I'm messing up the words. I'm sorry, Anita.
That's fine. Listen, hey,
Yes.
that voice is still there. No matter. She
Thank
understands.
you.
Who is the artist? Okay, besides Ella, who is the artist that influences you most?
Um, Jennifer Hudson.
Ooh,
Her story, her
her
life,
her story is
just
amazing. It's going to keep inspiring. What is your favorite Jennifer song, though?
oh my gosh, that's a hard question. I, 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 I've been through some things. Please don't hold that against me. Can't nobody love you like I'm gonna love you. Can't nobody love you like I'm gonna love you. That's a good one.
I
There's so,
love
I
that
mean,
song.
Jennifer Hudson,
I
just
love
her
that
voice.
song. Oh my gosh. Okay. Uh, if you could do an entire project with an artist, who would it be?
Alive or does it matter?
Who would it be?
Um, can I say Ella again?
You can. You can.
It would definitely be Ella.
Okay. What about
Um,
a producer? A full project with the producer?
I got to rep for VA and go with Timbaland. Yeah.
Okay. So whenever I get the
Or
Timbaland answer,
Pharrell, but yeah.
whenever I get the Timbaland answer, I always ask if you would want him to craft a sound around you, or if you would just want to come in and just get like the classic Timbaland stuff, because Tim can actually craft a sound around an artist, and I love
And
it.
and that's what I would want. Yeah, because I would definitely want to co-create and just definitely make it a kind of both of our vibes and our sounds. But
Okay.
oh man, that would be incredible. Let's
We're
just
speaking
speak that.
into it into
Let's
existence.
let's speak
We're
that.
speaking it from our mouths to God's ears. Let's
Yes.
go.
Amen.
My last question here is, what did 2020 teach you?
To be still, and to slow down some, you know, that it's okay to not do anything for some time, that it's okay to just rest, and that it's important to spend some time with yourself and to get to know yourself and get to love yourself. That's been a huge lesson, you know, all of us spending all of this time kind of alone and isolative, but the beauty in that is getting to know yourself better and learning to love yourself and put yourself first.
Before we close out, I'm going to have to ask because I've just enjoyed you singing everything for me. So, can we get a little tiny bit of Ride? What is
Yeah,
going on?
let's do it. It's been a long time coming, but I'm on my way up. Not about to slow up. Yeah. And I'm not done running towards my purpose. Gonna make it worth it. Hard as I try, I can't deny. Don't wanna do this alone. Come join the ride on your own time. See what's inside of your soul. July 31st.
July 31st. Let's go.
Let's go.
Megan, tell them all of your socials before we head out so they can come
Yes.
follow you and we can make sure that we run that up on the 31st.
Let's go. So Instagram is megan.b.music. Twitter is it's Megan B Music. You can find me on Facebook at Megan B Music. I've also got a link a link tree on my Instagram that has a lot of different links to both my YouTube pages. I have a page for covers and then a page for my original music. And there's also some Voices of Fire stuff on there. So
Can you
check it
pre-save?
out.
Can we pre-save the link yet, or is it too early?
Not yet. It's too early, but be on the lookout for those posts and those announcements to be able to pre-save it.
Okay.
And just get ready.
Thank you so much, Megan. Thank you for being my
Thank
first guest
you.
back. I had a wonderful time, and I
Me
can't wait
too.
for the project because I love Ride, but I can't wait for the full project.
Thank you so much. It's been awesome. Thank you for having me as your first guest
Of
back.
course. Have a good evening. Happy
Thank
Friday,
you.
everyone. Be safe, and I will
Yay.
talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.